the old school guys through the 50s, through the 70s, training wasn't cool. If you were a guy and you were going to the gym, you were a fag.
Do you recall that feeling of like going to the gym and then like being embarrassed?
The training methodology.
Look at your head. Look at your head. All right, Project, welcome back. We're going to be reacting to an episode we did 4 years ago at this point in our very first gym with Eugene Teo.
Here we are, My Muscle Project. Welcome back to another episode.
This was actually a really good show because we did his seminar. Well, I mostly did his seminar. You did his entire seminar. Yeah, I think it's just really good conversation between people that know each other a little bit better than the first time meeting. Yeah. Crazy to think this is 4 years ago in a gym that we used to own. I mean, I'm looking at it now, like the podcast studio is like the worst version of the podcast studio we ever had. If you guys want to watch the full video, obviously we're going to link it up down below. So let's get into it.
With things like, okay, biceps training. That's probably the most bodybuilder thing you could ever come across.
Sure.
Is biceps.
Yeah.
If you like CrossFitters, who needs biceps? Or powerlifters, who needs biceps? But then I started realizing how much of an important role the biceps were playing for elbow stability, for powerlifters on the bench press, particularly on the eccentric. How important the biceps were for throwers, in terms of when they're throwing on the eccentric for like a pitcher or a cricketer, that brachioradialis would play to stabilize the elbow joint and prevent a lot of extra forces to smash up the tendons there.
Okay.
And that would be...
It's like pretty typical Eugene Teo analysis, right? Things that you didn't expect had applications outside of just bodybuilding have like obviously many applications. I think most anatomists, whatever you call them, or most people that work in biomechanics understand the full function of everything, but we will, as we get through this episode, realize the limited scope at which different modalities only view muscles or body parts or training through only just like one lens. And I think if Eugene's good at anything, it's like, okay, let's look at all the applications of this muscle or this function of the body, and let's explore how it can be useful outside of just the one thing that you want it for.
Yeah. The old school guys through the 50s, through the 70s, they were diversifying. Like back then, training wasn't cool. If you were a guy and you were going to the gym, you were a fag. Yeah. And that was derogatory.
Hey, I remember those days. Yeah.
And it wasn't the cool thing to do.
Do you recall that feeling of like going to the gym and then like being embarrassed to say that you went to the gym?
No one called me a fag for going to the gym.
Okay, but there definitely was a sentiment, I think, when you first started going to the gym. It wasn't cool. I forgot about that. It really wasn't.
There was the gym junkie days. Like gym junkie wasn't a positive term.
Yeah, gym junkie, I feel like that's like I don't think gym junkie was the right thing, almost because I didn't look like I went to the gym. So I don't feel like that was a relevant insult to me. It almost just felt like it's hard for people to comprehend, but you know, back in 2007, 8, when you're going to the gym, like most people felt like it was reserved for weirdos. They kind of put you in that, I guess that gym rat sort of strange, care too much about how you look kind of basket. But now that it's just become so popular and so mainstream, pretty much everyone goes to the gym. You don't. Changed. That stigma has definitely changed. It's almost like you don't go to the gym. It's like, wow, you really don't care about yourself. Like it has flip-flopped completely.
So everybody who trained or had any kind of idea about fitness were all shunned into these little YMCAs or these underground basement kind of gyms.
I started as well, YMCA,
Where was the very first gym you started? Outside of home gym?
School gym.
School gym.
Yeah.
And then after school gym? First gym you paid for?
Oh, I don't think I've paid for one yet.
Just started them.
No, I went to a gym like that.
Like
just no, it wasn't a community gym, but like shitty gym above an RSL club. I got kicked out of the gym.
How much did it cost?
Oh, I think it was $23 a week, but I got kicked out when I started doing CrossFit. I did the Helen, the one with kettlebell swings. I dropped it from above my head, and then to get quickly back on the rower, and then the handle of the kettlebell went like straight half through the floor.
Oh wow! I remember going to the YMCA, the PCYC, which is like the YMCA in America, and I even thinking back to it now, I think it was still one of the better gyms I've ever been to. It had a lot, like it had a squat rack, it had tons of metal plates, it had a powerlifting area, it had like a dip machine, it had loads of things. It just had that perfect old school bodybuilding. Like there were so many old school bodybuilders that trained there. Guess that's where the stigma came from, right? It's like pretty much everyone you knew that went to a gym back then was in these like shitty underground dungeon gyms, and they all took steroids. So it's like you got lumped into that basket. It's like, oh, you'll be one of them one day.
That's your dream outcome.
Yeah.
That's what we're working towards.
The dream outcome.
I have lower back pain. I am the lower back pain person now. That's that's their memory. That's who they are. Or they've been told by a physio, you've herniated a disc, or you've slipped this disc. It's out of your spine now.
It's really bad.
It's bad. You can't tie your shoelaces ever again. And like, oh, fuck. That makes a lot of sense. That's why I'm hurting now. And it fits into the model. Your brain's like, yeah, that makes sense. Never bend over ever again. And then your perception becomes your reality.
I've seen that countless times. The back is for sure the worst. I remember once I had a client and she like had a serious back issue. She actually slipped a disc plugging her computer into a wall. That's how bad her back was. And when she came to see me, I can't remember her name exactly. She's from New Zealand. She was a pharmacist. And she could not even bend 5 degrees forward. Like she always stayed 100% upright. But the worst part about it, right, is because she was a pharmacist, she would prescribe herself like really, really heavy painkillers. And I remember that one time we were in the gym and she went to pick something up and didn't hurt her back, right? But it was just literally the tension that she felt on her lower back from just going into hip flexion, like sent her into a panic. Like she went onto the floor and she's like, I can't move. I can't get up. You need to go to my house. I went to her house. Yeah. She's on the ground. Floor. Yeah. Left on the floor. Where did she live? Yeah. Not far. Went to her house, drove to her house, like had her house keys, opened up her cabinet, like went into her cabinet. There was so many painkillers, like way more painkillers, like injectable painkillers, everything. Grabbed like the whole basket of painkillers, drove back and like she ate like 5 of them just to get up. I'm like, are you in pain? She's like, I don't know, but it didn't feel good. I'm like, but are you in pain? She's like, I'm not sure. It's psychological at that point. It's crazy. Like it's insanely psychological at that point.
PTs will do anything. Also,
we gave her like 1 rep max deadlifts before that. I'm joking.
And it's not crazy to think of it that way. That is what is actually playing out in the body. So it's a multifaceted thing. Lower back pain is not just, hey, tight hip flexors, or hey, weak hip flexors, or hey, weak glutes. Maybe it's also partly to do with the perception that's completely influenced by your own personal bias, everything you've had as a contextual thing from day one. Every person you've spoken to, every doctor.
That's 100% true. And I think it may actually be more of a factor than anything else. Like I think the more we understand about the body and the mind, the more you realize most of the pain resides in your head. There's just like very little, unless you can, you do some serious structural damage to like, roll an ankle, blow out an ACL or whatever. A lot of chronic pain is in the mind for sure.
Yeah. And it's more complex, right? It's like, if my elbow's hurting today, it doesn't hurt tomorrow. How much did my elbow really change?
Yeah, I know.
Overnight.
Yeah.
But some days it really hurts, some days it doesn't hurt at all.
Yeah, dude. It's an absolute mystery. That's for
If you scanned it, you couldn't really tell the difference between two.
No. Or you did all the tests and it's like you're perfectly strong and healthy. Yeah, you're in excruciating pain.
Yeah.
It's a mystery.
Yeah, you got to be flexible with your ego in a sense, right? So how did you deal with that and how did that evolve over time?
I guess it's, in a simple answer, it's a reframing process. So for what most of us see, especially with bodybuilding, it's so external.
Sorry, just to quickly frame this one up. What I'm talking about, he's lost 15 kilos of muscle.
Yeah.
So I've asked him about what has it felt like
since competing in
bodybuilding. Yeah. What's it like to lose 15 kilos of muscle?
My first question is, hey, if I lost that so quickly, what do you think I gained in reaction to it, in response to that? So for me to be able to lose those 15 kilos, what were they holding me back from being able to do? What came, like you just said it, for me to be able to put on that kind of size, it took a lot of hard hours of training, eating, prepping, meticulous everything, sleep. Every single thing was T's crossed and I's dotted for a long, long time. Now, what if I was to redirect that energy to spreading something else of my message or what I want to do with helping people and teaching and business, whatever you want to call it?
100%.
Yeah.
I don't know if you could say this about everything in your life where like you regress on something and you move something else and gives you space to do other things. But I think definitely in the pursuit of like muscle building and changing your body, because it is such a consuming process, you can get a lot of time back. I remember when we were competing in CrossFit, we rolled it back. We were doing 12 sessions a week. Then we halved it. We went to 6. Even though we went from double days, 6 days a week, to just once a day. I felt like I had a whole different lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's insane how much of your life revolves around it.
And because of the 80-20, obviously, if you're trying to be the best in the world, like you have to do the full amount.
Yeah.
But what you realize, like you can get so much of the results from 30% of it. You can't get 100%, but you don't go down to 30%.
And you know what people don't appreciate if you look at like say the world of like professional fighting, right, where the season, like off seasons, right, most people don't really comprehend why people have off seasons. It's because of this, right? It's because there's nothing else exists in your life as a professional athlete when you're in season or when you're pre-season. And so like basically being a bodybuilder is like all the time, always. And so having an off season, I don't know, it's not really a thing in bodybuilding. The off season is like, all right, cool, we're eating more food now, we've got the hoodies on, and we're doing more training. So you could imagine just getting so much time back when you stop competing.
You can gain a lot. Like 15 kilos, that's a lot of muscle. 15 kilos equivalent in terms of educating, traveling, teaching, expanding, content creation, researching, whatever you want to call it. That's a lot as well.
Yeah.
And that's why it was so easy for me to do it. Like I don't look back at, like, of course, if I could snap my finger and say I got muscle back, I would love that. It'd be cool. Like it's from the external. If I could have it without having to put the internal aside. But for me, that's not what I wanted.
Yeah. I mean, I think you have to go there. You have to walk that path. You have to gain it and lose it to then have the appreciation of the perspective that he's sharing with us right now. And I think most people will ignore that perspective until they've gained the muscle and then they've lost it and know if it's that important to them. Because you know how much hard work is required.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like he knows, okay, if I actually really care about that thing, this is what it takes to get it back. Do I really care that much? No, not anymore. Because other things are more important.
Bodybuilding and not bodybuilding in terms of the training methodology.
Look at your head. Look at your head. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the angle. It's just
the same as now.
No, I don't know. It just looks different. Yeah, you look like a baby. But
is that a baby head or is that a normal head?
No, I think it's a baby head. Yeah.
But bodybuilding, like the sport, right? Stepping on stage, being judged, and getting a medal and that sort of thing. Do you think, having done it as well yourself, do you think it has been a negative thing for the industry overall? Like, do you think if it disappeared and we didn't have it, the industry would overall be better, or do you think it serves a purpose?
He looks tiny from this perspective.
Eugene.
Don't you think? Like
he looks thick, but he looks like he's 4'3".
Yeah, he's sitting at the end of the table. I mean, he's 4'8", but like he looks tiny from this perspective.
It's a funny angle.
Miniature.
It's like a fisheye thing. Two parents quiz their child on training.
Yeah.
It is the devil's playground for narcissism. Body, simple as that. If you can understand that going into it, then and arm yourself with the knowledge of that and knowledge of yourself, and the fact that maybe you are a narcissist or have those tendencies and know to avoid it, then it should be fine. But people don't do that. People don't have that self-awareness. But that's just like any other sport as well. It's not just any, like I would say, most sports can breed that kind of narcissism, or it's all about me, it's all about the external validation, the achievements, or whatever it is, because it is putting you in the spotlight. Bodybuilding is a very easy target to look at because you are literally spending time to be judged and put up there on stage in front of other people and be told, like, hey, you don't look good enough. So that it can bruise a lot of egos, and it can hurt a lot of people. I think there's good and bad parts to it, probably more bad. And I'd say more of the bad comes from the fact that people are misinformed.
Definitely more bad. Definitely more bad. I don't know. I just think the realms to which people, or I guess the expectation of the average punter that's going to the gym now with what is out there on Instagram and in the sport of bodybuilding and like just the top levels of bodybuilding in general, the amount of content we are exposed to from those people, I think it just makes more people that achieve a really good level of health and fitness feel miserable. It's like, all right, well, even speaking for myself, right? I'm sure if I had achieved this, and it's always hard to say, right? But if I had this physique before Instagram, you'd probably feel a lot better about it than with Instagram, because I can find 1,000 physiques right now that look 100 times better than me. And it can just be, even though intellectually, okay, this is like artificially positioning myself amongst the top freak genetics against lighting, against Photoshop, against everything, there's still a part of you that's like, oh, fuck. I wish I looked like that. And I don't know. Yeah, I just don't think it's a healthy thing, especially for guys to get into as well, because guys like really push it to the extreme. Girls push it to the extreme as well, of course, but guys involve steroids a lot more. Yeah. And so that is what scares me, is young guys being impatient. Like, I know the temptation for steroids was there, and I know it's probably even worse now with like YouTube and Instagram, and the access to these drugs, like there was no SARMs, there was no peptides, there was no like order on the internet when we were doing it. There was just like supplements at the supplement store. The access to these things now is so much, like it's so much more widespread. And I do worry about the next generation of young guys coming up who were in my position, but now with like more options, more access and more pressure, I think they're gonna probably have worse health consequences in the future.
It's pretty crazy to think that for some people to even just be like in good shape now, it's like you need enhancement just to be in good shape. Just because good shape has been stretched.
Yeah, the definition of good shape
has
the bar
keeps
has
moving.
been
and now it's kind of happening to women now.
Yeah,
like women to be in good shape before, just have to eat a bit less.
Yeah, now it's like when we expect a six pack.
Yeah,
like
now it's
fully
like
shredded glutes.
you basically need implants to be in good shape.
Yeah, well, like fake tits is like the default now.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway,
Me at the moment, and why?
Yeah. So, first of all, I would actually say like that rigidity to the bodybuilding lifestyle is probably not the optimal way to train for bodybuilding. From what I know now.
Very controversial statement, but please continue.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting.
you could see me lapping that one up like, oh, juicy bit of content there.
The body part splits and knowing, okay, Mondays, chest day, 6 p.m. I've got to hit incline, then I've got to hit this, then I've got to hit that with this amount of volume. I've got to hit 25 sets per week for my volume threshold or whatever it is to be able to grow.
That's what the research says,
That's what the research says. But all of that is for the birds when it comes down to all the different contexts that could be thrown at you. Let's say the research shows that I need to hit 20 sets to grow my chest. That research has got no idea at all about my genetics for chest growth. What about a guy like Raf, where he's got a missing pec major? Are the 20 sets that I do going to be the same for him?
I feel like he's gone for the exception there.
He's just gone after the non-existent body part there. Oh, God.
Few nights poor sleep, a lot of extra stress or whatever. What if he ate differently? What if he was traveling through time zones or whatever it is? There are so many variables that will all impede or improve muscle growth potential. So most important is to have the body part split or whatever there in the back of your mind as a tool, and then know how to listen to your body day to day and then choose the right tool for the job in terms of the set, the exercise, the volume, the movements that you choose, and learn how to explore and auto-regulate. Auto-regulation and this free approach, I guess, freaks out a lot of people.
I wonder if he'd still agree with that statement.
It's interesting.
I mean, it makes sense in theory, but I don't know if I agree with it 100%. Like, I feel like there are principles about muscle building that apply, and regardless of your context, you follow them. Not because of your context, you choose whether or not to follow them. Regardless of the content, you need to get 20 sets in a week. And yes, there are weeks where you don't sleep enough. Yes, there are weeks where you don't get enough protein, or you don't have the best muscle building genetics. But we know for everyone, they need to do 20 sets to grow a body part. That's how I feel about it.
Do you think one thing I learned around though is that splitting it up so much, like one muscle one day, is more for advanced lifters. Very early on, like you do get more out, particularly when you're first trying to build that first massive slab of muscle, training body parts more frequently than once a week. If you're just learning how to lift and you hit legs once a week, it can just be hard. You know, just like really hard to get good at training the movements.
Yeah, I mean, just because we've done so many different types of splits over the years, I don't even think I'm sure there's an optimal split, but I think the marginal difference between the splits is so minimal. The split that works for you is the best split.
It's like, at the end of the day, it's like all the rep ranges work pretty much within reason, and all the splits work within reason. Because you could definitely find a study that works for everyone.
Yeah, it's like, all right, well, here's the optimal split for you by 5% from the average split, and it's 6 days a week, and there's 2 double days in there, and like there's a nap in there, and there's
it's like, I missed training today.
And it's like 5, it's like, what are you actually going to do? What are you going to do? Okay, that's the optimal split.
Cool.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's how it works. Like everyone's life is different.
Just the basic biomechanics. People have got to realize that when you train in the gym, you are not just training your muscles. Like, we understand when you train in the gym, you are training your muscles. You're also training connective tissue. You're also training your nervous system. You know what else you're training? You're stimulating your lymphatic system. You're stimulating your immune system. You're doing something to your digestive system, to your stress response system, to your adrenals. You're doing everything is being stimulated in some way. Your body is one unified, complete system. And we focus just on the muscle or connective tissue or maybe the nervous system in terms of neural demands of like, hey, you got to get jacked up for this 1 rep max. That's about it. but we don't look to explore the other aspects that training, which is our sport, whether we're athletes or not, has to offer us.
Man, I think having an appreciation for all the different systems in the body and how you affect them when you're training is important to understand. Whether or not you can do anything about it, I think is another thing.
Yeah.
So I think it's good as a coach, maybe as an educator, as a content creator, as someone that is in the industry. Like you need to understand and know these things, but at the end of the day, you are training muscles and you are training movements. There's not really much more than that. It's not like I'm coming in today like today's all about digestion. Like I'm going to train the digestive system. Like I'm going to train the lymphatic systems. Like it's not really how it works. Everything's all going at once. I agree, but what you can affect of that is negligent. Like you can't affect any of those things. You can just do movements and you can train muscles, and those things work themselves out in a positive way. It's good to understand that those are the things that are working. Unnecessary knowledge, for sure. For sure.
Like most bodybuilders are. You're on the preacher curl, you're on the skull crusher, you're on the close grip bench, you're on the squat, you're on the leg press. Hey, you're doing full body, fantastic, but you're in one plane. You're training tissue, you're training joints, you're training CNS, for sure, but maybe you're not training the coordinative aspect to your CNS, your cerebellum. Maybe you're not training the basal ganglia, some of the accuracy, timing, coordination aspect to movements. Maybe because you're not moving in a multi-planar way with a lot more flow to your body, you're not opening up tissues, you're not restoring flow to your peripheral nerves or the lymphatic system. Maybe you're not breathing properly because you're clenching all the time, doing a lot of mouth breathing and grinding your teeth. So you're not getting enough diaphragmatic respiratory flow. Now there's going to be a lot more stagnation to your training. Well, hey, you're doing full body training, so you're fine. Like, well, there's layers to it.
Okay. I think said another way, it's like, what can you do? Like if I give you a multitude of tasks, what of those tasks can you complete? Now, I give you the list of tasks, right? Say, okay, today or this week, on Monday, we're going to play tennis. On Tuesday, we're going to go for a swim. On Thursday, we're going to ride a bike. On Friday, we're going to train at the gym. Saturday, we're going to do CrossFit. And then on Sunday, we're going to go rock climbing, right? Now, of those things, which do you care or not care about? Cool, I don't care about half those things. Great, you don't care about playing tennis, you don't care about rock climbing, you don't care about CrossFit. Okay, so you care about these other three things that you want to be able to do. Okay, great. Can you do those things? Yes or no? I can sort of do that. I can definitely do this. I cannot do that. Okay, why can't you do that? X, Y, Z. Let's try and put a little bit more of that in your training. I think that's as simple and as easy as it needs to go. And I really don't think Eugene's going to disagree with me on this, but this is just the way I see it, because I guess his population that he's worked with, they're like mostly bodybuilders, right? Whereas like a lot of the populations that we've worked with are people that just like want to get on with their life, right? And we just need to look at it from the context of life, not through he's always looking at it through the context of bodybuilding. We're always looking at it through the context of what functions can this person do in their life. And so I think that is what ultimately dictates the program. So when we're looking at our clients, it's like, man, I just want to keep up with my kids. Like I want to be able to like ride my bike for 100 Ks on the weekend. And it'd be like really good if I just lost my gut. That dictates the program and nutrition protocols, not like what system are we training, like what lymphatics, what nerves, what that sort of stuff. That all just comes as a result of restoring the function or restoring the abilities or creating new skills to which these people lack. I don't know if you could do it any other way. No,
and it's just also, it's people don't have the knowledge to do that much more than train at the sagittal plane. Most people.
Well, also like it benefiting, like we only need the sagittal plane for now because we're so far behind on everything else that like, don't worry about the
better
other
than
stuff.
Nothing, bro.
Don't worry about the other stuff.
Better than the fucking sitting on the couch plane.
The sagittal couch plane. All right, so we actually only got halfway through that episode, so there's still a whole other hour of discussion. If you guys want to go check that out, make sure you go down below, watch the full episode with Eugene. I'm sure we'll get him on again in the future. He's not very far away, a 2-hour plane ride. We have discussed about getting him in the studio for another one. If you guys want to see that, comment down below, and then make sure you don't miss a video. Make sure you become a subscriber to the channel. If you do, thank you. If you are already, thank you again. As always, guys, we'll see you on the next video.